Boom. The video gets a little bit more content. Alright, shall we? So I'm going to give you a little bit of an intro, and then we'll get started. And it's just casual, like we're just talking. It's just a conversation.
Yeah?
Yeah, awesome.
But I get an intro.
You do get an intro.
Sick.
Okay.
You're going to say the thing about the mustache even though I don't have it?
Yeah, but I'm gonna edit a little bit to say how you don't have a mustache anymore.
Okay, got it.
Okay. Hello humans, it's Kat, and I'm back again with another episode of This Human Thing. This is a podcast on the human experience, and we're talking about this human thing that we're all doing. We keep it raw, we keep it casual, we're just having a conversation. What is life? How can I be better? How do I be a human being? Well, no one has all the answers, and even those who do, that's their answer. Everyone's got to find their own. But as we learn to listen more deeply to others and open ourselves to new perspectives and new ways of looking at the world, we can also learn to look more deeply into ourselves and our inner world. This way, cultivating a more authentic connection to ourselves, others, and to all of life. We learn more empathy, more compassion, and we get some answers. #get woke. Just kidding. Anyway, so today, it is episode 4 of This Human Thing, and I have here Neal. And Neal, I don't know you that well, but I like your vibe. So here he is. And I actually don't know your last name. What is it?
It's from, F-R-O-M, like the word.
No way.
Yeah, preposition.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah.
So here he is, Neal Frum. I'm excited to have you on the show, specifically because I don't know you that well, so I think it's going to be cool to get to know you through the podcast.
All right.
And, but from what I do know is you've spent your fair amount of time traveling. Mm-hmm. And so you've been out there experiencing a lot of life, putting yourself out there, taking leaps, doing your thing. And I know from my own life that you can think and talk about life all you want, but if you really want to understand it and grow and connect, you gotta put your money where your mouth is and go live it. So I met Neal through his girlfriend Karin, who I met at the yoga studio that we were both working at. Shout out Riffs, Ocean Beach. And like I said, although I don't know you that well, you're a surfer, he did have a killer stash, which I wrote in the intro, but he has since shaved the killer stash, so...
I did.
But R.I.P.
R.I.P. stash, it happens.
You've got a great sense of humor. You've made me laugh harder than I've laughed in a long time.
Wow, thank you.
You're welcome. And yeah, just all around great vibes. Like, I can tell just from hanging out with you a little bit that you have a lot of good stories to tell, a lot of great advice from all the experiences you've had. So let's give it up for you.
Yeah, all right. Hey.
Woo! Awesome. So thanks for being on the show this week, Neal. Welcome.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I'm excited. I've never done a podcast before.
Well, how's it feel?
So far, so good. I really did think it was going to be just like a iPhone and you and me talking in a closet, but this is way more official.
Well, maybe a step up, but I want it to be like just as casual as if we were
sitting in a closet.
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. I'll pretend. I'll pretend that. Apparently, that's a thing that people do.
No, because there's like not as much echo.
Ambient noise. Yeah.
Oh no.
Yeah. Well, I'm excited. I actually didn't know what this was about until you just read that intro.
What do you think?
I think it's cool. I think it's a cool idea. Yeah, like you had suggested, I didn't listen to any of the podcasts before, so kind of coming in not really knowing exactly what to expect.
Yeah.
But it's cool. How has it been going so far?
How
have people
I've gotten good feedback. I hope that people aren't just being nice. Well, I like it when people are nice, but I don't want them to just be like telling me it's been good if it's not good.
Mm-hmm. Creative compliments.
Yeah, exactly. But just there's an example right there. I'll say a lot. I'll say like a lot. It's just little things like that I just need to get accustomed to learning how to speak. Mm-hmm. Because in normal conversation, it's so overlooked and not important. But then when you're actually listening to yourself, you're like, ooh.
Right. Yeah. I'm a big ummer.
Me too. It's okay.
Okay.
We'll just say it. It doesn't really matter.
Okay, good. And then you'll just go back and edit out all the ums.
No, that's a lot of work. And especially just keeping it in the vein of being a casual and real conversation. I don't do much editing.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, but so how did you end up here in San Diego?
It's a long story.
Yeah, well, we've got time.
Okay.
You don't need to go into all the nitty-gritty. I can ask questions as we go, but don't start from birth. But what was the last point that?
Maybe if we work backwards.
Okay, perfect.
That'll be good.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm in San Diego now,
Mm-hmm.
and before this, I was living in Indonesia, in Bali, in like a kind of relatively small village there called Karamas, which some people might know because there's a World Surf League kind of like stop there in Karamas. It's a really, really great wave at like main break. It's just like barreling right hand point. And so I was actually there living with Karin. And she was kind of in between there and Canggu, where she was teaching yoga. And Canggu is kind of like the bougie, kind of like really developed, super hip, super cool, kind of like Australian.
It's like one big Instagram picture.
Exactly. Yeah, like everything caters to Instagram, and it's definitely got its pluses, it's definitely got its minuses. But I was there, and I was there because, I was in Indonesia in general because I had started a nonprofit with my good friend Seamus, who 5 years before then or maybe like 6 years before then, I had met in the Gulf of Cambodia, where I was working on this small island called Koh Rong as a snorkel guide and a bartender. And I was paid in room and board, food, and beer. Almost
That's
exclusively.
all you need, though.
Yeah, it is.
Little moped here and there, you're good.
Yeah, actually, there weren't, like, it was such a small island that there were no mopeds.
Wow,
It
you
was
could
just
just walk
like,
everywhere?
It was just like a few places on the beach. And like the rest
Wow.
of the island, like the other side of it was a little more developed. Not really like with roads or anything. It was like really, really small island. Like all the electricity went out at like 12 because it was all like run by generators and everything. And I was on Koh Rong because after college, I had been teaching English in South Korea. And this was in the days of, who was the leader of North Korea before? Kim Jong-un.
Oh, before him?
Yeah, Kim Jong-un.
Oh, okay.
Right? Maybe?
Is he the leader now? I thought he was still leader.
No. So it was the guy before the guy right now.
Oh, okay. I don't know.
I don't remember. I don't know.
Okay.
Kim Jong something. Anyway, he was doing a lot of saber rattling, being
What
like,
is that?
"Yo, I'm gonna bomb South Korea." There's another I'm gonna bomb South Korea, and my family was freaking out. They were like, "Yo, you need to get out of there," and I was like, my job kind of sucked. I kind of hated my job. I was teaching in kind of this like shitty hagwon, which is like an English school in South Korea. And South Korea is it's a great place. It's a really great place. I had a wonderful time there. But the way that they kind of idealize education, not that education is a bad thing, but the way that they force their kids to be educated, that sounds kind of ridiculous,
but it's taken to an extreme.
It's insane. Like, I would have kids, like, they go to regular school, and I was working at a hagwon, which is basically like an extra school. So in the morning I'd work with like the really little kids that are too young to go to regular school, like fucking like 4 or 5 years old.
Wow.
And they're like learning English, and so they have that like in the morning from like 8 to 12, and then or maybe like 8 to 3. And then the kids that are getting out of school come to the hagwon so that they can perfect their English. And then after that, they'd have taekwondo. And then after that, they'd have violin practice. And then after that, they need to do all their homework. And they end up going to bed at like, 11, 12 a.m. And they're up at like 6 a.m. for, their swimming lessons or something. I would have kids, literally this happened. I would have kids reading out loud in front of the class that would fall asleep while they were reading out loud. Like, they would.
Oh my God.
Like, I don't think you've ever been that tired. Like, like
standing up, reading, performing, and you're falling asleep.
Yeah,
during
they were like
that.
Well, they were sitting down reading to the class. If they were standing up, that would be even more tired. But to the extent, like, that was crazy. It was super insane, and it's like based around this idea that, you know, these parents like invest all their savings into their children's education so that when their children grow up, they'll be able to take care of their parents. And it's like this like cyclical kind of very bizarre thing where just these kids are like super overworked and they don't get to play and they don't get like enough sleep, and it's like, I don't know, from my perspective it was like super damaging. And I felt like I was like adding to that problem, and I was kind of like,
I know, kind of
isolated in a community, like outside, like away from my friends, and there's a lot of drinking culture anyway. So yeah, that's how I got here.
I'm curious about what you were just speaking about in that extreme education culture and that pressure, since that's all they knew, and so as an outsider, as someone from the US coming into that culture and saying like, oh wow, this is very extreme, but for them it's kind of the norm, and they've been brought up that way. Is that like, can they even reflect on that and say this is horrible, or are they just, it's just such the norm?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not saying it was horrible.
Yeah.
I'm not saying it was horrible. I don't want to pass judgment on them. I just think, like, from my perspective, like, kids should have the opportunity to be kids, and like, maybe that's not the ideal way to raise a kid, even for like the purpose that they want. Like, if they want them to be extremely successful, I think the right way of going about that is like giving them time to develop and sleep. You know, sleep is really important.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, I think some of the younger kids definitely, they knew nothing else, and they were just like, oh, well, yeah, I just fucking go to school and learn English, you know, while I'm 4 years old. This is just what life is. And then they see their older brothers and older sisters that, you know, go through all this schooling and all these extracurriculars, and they think it's pretty normal. But yeah, with the older kids, I didn't really get a sense that they thought there was anything wrong with it. I think that was just kind of the way things were, and like, you know, you live with your family until you get married, and then typically when your parents hit a certain age, they move in with you, and it's just like a super different culture. And I think, you know, I'm hesitant to pass judgment on it, but definitely like watching some of these young kids just not get to, you know, experience their youth the same way that I did. I felt it was like, kind of fucked up.
No, definitely. And, you know, I'm sure that they look at our culture and they say, oh, that's a horrible way to raise a child. So it's all completely subjective. Yeah. But, you know, that's why it's good to experience other cultures, and you can pick and choose and say, oh, you know, no one's doing it absolutely correctly. But if we can pick and choose different things from the different ways people are doing things, we can find a more well-rounded, effective way of life. Yeah,
there's a balance there for sure. I don't know where it is though. You know, like even in Bali, like the family structure is super tight knit, which I think is really beautiful in some aspects. But like the oldest son typically will, you know, hold down the family like estate. Like, if usually like how they're set up is like a family will buy a plot of land, and then as that family grows, they'll just like build more buildings on that plot of land.
I noticed that.
And so like, you've been to Bali. So, you know, the mom and dad would build the first house, and then their eldest son would build the second house, and then that eldest son is basically in charge.
You can get your phone.
Yeah, hold on, sorry.
You're totally good.
Gonna have to edit that out.
Maybe I'll keep it in. Mom, I can't talk to you right now.
Yeah, sorry.
No, you're totally good.
Anyway, Bali family structure is just like super interesting, but also like not something that I would want to have. Like, I'm the eldest son, and you just like, that's where you're gonna live. Where you're living with your mom and your dad and your aunt and your uncle, and you're gonna hold down the house. And if you're the second oldest son, you need to go find somebody that's gonna basically let you be the man of their house. So like, I have this really good friend, her name's Indira. She lives in Bali, and her parents only had 2 daughters. And so what they need to do now. So her oldest sister married someone and moved in with him. And so now Indira needs to find a second-born or younger than the firstborn, because the firstborn will inherit his family's kind of plot of land. So she needs to find, obviously somebody that she loves, ideally. But on top of that, she needs to find somebody that's either, a second, third, fourth-born son that's willing to move into her family's house and then basically take over her family's like assets.
Wow.
And so like everything's like passed on to him rather than like her and her sister. It's really crazy. But conversely, like, what's worse? Like living with your parents your whole life, which to me sounds awful, absolutely awful. I love you parents, but really just like not my style, not what I'm, nowhere in my life goal is that, something that I want to happen. But like, what's the alternative? Like,
yeah, definitely.
What are you going to do with your parents when they're like 80 years old and they can't live by themselves? What are you going to do?
What am I going to do?
Yeah, what are you going to do?
That's so hard because, like, I don't want them to live with me, as awful as that sounds.
What
like
are you going to do? Right now, your parents just turned 80.
Yeah.
And you have a choice. Like, they're either moving in with you or you're putting them
in a nursing home. I would want to talk to them about what they would want.
They want to come live with you.
I feel like I'm just so selfish when it comes to things like that, and admittedly, but I would hope to be by that time at a point in my life where that would be a no-brainer. But from where I am right now in my current situation, I can't see myself making that decision.
You don't think your 80-year-old mom would like to
in
sleep
my
on the
tiny
couch?
apartment? Yeah. What would you do?
Send them to a home.
Sorry, Mom.
See ya.
Hopefully I would like have a little cha-chang to send them to like some bougie place.
Yeah. I mean, if you have enough cha-chang, you just have an estate.
Yeah.
And they have the house.
On the other side.
About 4 miles away over the mountain.
Come on, kids, we're gonna go visit Grandma.
And they have no mode of transportation. So they can't get over the mountain, and you see them when you want. And
there's a ski lift.
Yeah, exactly. No, that's too much. There's just a rope. They need to.
It takes them like 5 days to get over.
No, you only visit them. That's the only way they see you. Is you're like, all right, we should probably go feed Mom.
My mom listens to this. Hi, Mom, I love you.
She's probably getting hungry. No, but
Dang.
yeah, like you're saying, I don't know how to combine those two things and find kind of a happy medium. But I think there is kind of beauty to, this responsibility. And I think in Bali, especially where like I've spent the most amount of time, like when I think that family structure and that like tightness of that group, it kind of from that like familial structure, it kind of radiates out into the rest of society. And I feel like a lot of people like, when you're referring to people like in Bahasa Bali, like the language of the Balinese, they say they refer to each other as like bli, or if you're guys, and that's brother. And I think there's just like it really is like part of their culture. And I think one of the reasons they're so friendly and so open and so kind to everyone around them it has to do with kind of that basic familial structure. And maybe why we're so fucked up and individualistic is because we're like, you fucking, get out of the house
like
when you're 18. Like your parents are like, get the fuck out. If you come back here, like you're a loser. Mm-hmm. Like don't fucking come back here. Go figure your shit out after college. And then, it's just like, well, yeah, fuck you, Mom. Like you fuck kicked me out of the house. Like you're not coming here when you're 80,
Oh, and let me ask you something. So as there's these polarities of individualist culture in the West and collectivist in the East, usually that's just how it goes. Mm-hmm. And so the West, we look at the East and the collectivist cultures and we say, there's no freedom, there's no individual expression, everyone is bound to their families and their responsibilities in the families. And whereas here, it seems like we're all selfish and that we have no regard for other people and blah, 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 blah. Mm-hmm. And like how can we merge those two and find that happy medium? Because for us, we place this ideal as freedom as being having like almost being like as a person free, like as a personality free, like me, like my name, my person, that thing is free. Like Kat is free, Neal is free, it's completely independent, not needing anything else. And in the East they're saying, well, my freedom is the fact that everything is so open and that we're all so connected. And I think that both are true. But again, it's so hard when you grow up in a certain culture and, you know, it's hard to see anything differently.
Yeah.
And I know in Bali, feeling, like when I was there, feeling that love and feeling that openness, it's like almost in the air. And like, I remember when I was in Bali, once I came back to the US, I was still like bowing to everyone. I was like, Suskuma, like, and because there's just so much reverence and respect there, and everyone's looking into each other's eyes saying like, that's me, that's like a part of me, that's a part of life, and like I have like the utmost love and respect for that person. And of course it's not perfect, but yeah, I've never been somewhere where literally a stranger will just invite you in off the street. And
yeah, well, it helps when you're, you know, a white blonde,
person. Oh, maybe
blue-haired girl, you know.
Yeah.
I think they're very, very nice to
yeah.
like a very certain demographic of
That's
people
true.
that they find like kind of ideals of like westernized society. I've never been told that I'm so smart for knowing like a little bit of Bahasa and so handsome. Never before in my whole life. One of the main reasons I love it there is wherever I go, they're like, oh, you're handsome because you have a big nose and white skin. I'm like, sick. This is amazing.
Stick around.
You know?
Yeah.
It really makes you feel good. But I think in that same vein, like I did find like the reverence and the beauty of like the family system and the love that people would show for just like basically strangers.
That's another human.
Yeah. And I think there was like a lot of openness. I did find myself like often like, stop asking me where I'm going. Like they always ask you like, where are you going? Where did you come from? What are you doing? Because that's like their way of caring. But this like freedom that I like have so fucking ingrained in my blood that I need it, and I'm a free person, I'm independent, and like, shut up, leave me alone. Like I would feel like frustrated, like, where are you going? Where you go? Where you go? Where you go? Don't ask me where I go. I'm going to the market.
Where you go?
Get out of here. Get out of here, cockyoung. The first year I lived there, I had my buddy Seamus found this homestay for us, and it was in this guy's like second home, and his name was Kakyan Putra. He was Kakyan Putra Bengal because he owned a little bike shop, and Bengal is like a bike shop. So he was practicing to become a Brahmin. He's the best person I've ever met my whole life. But God, we rented this house from him, and under the expectation that we would have this house, and he would not be there. Every morning, like 4:30 in the morning, he would come and like sweep the garden, like all the time. He would be there all the time. He would come, he would shower, he would just like, it was his house, and there was not this like understanding that we
personal space.
Yeah, expected like for him not to be there, which it just seems so normal to us, and to the point that like it's frustrating when people don't understand the expectations that you have, even though you're in like a different country. You're in a completely different culture.
How can they read your mind? They don't know what it's like being in the US.
But you still like feel this frustration of like, God damn it, Kakyan, what are you doing here? Like, why are you coming out of the shower right now? Like, we rented this house from you. Go away. Like, I just want to be like, I just want to come home and I just want to chill. And it wasn't really an option, but yeah, and it was this weird balance. It was this weird transition of like, I love Kakyan with all my heart.
Is he a Brahmin now?
I don't know yet. I haven't talked to him in a while.
Is that
sometimes he
like...
calls me.
Oh.
He calls me on WhatsApp, and I can speak a little Bahasa, but he really doesn't understand any English.
Great conversation.
Yeah, it's pretty funny conversations. Great guy, wonderful guy. But yeah, it's weird.
So it's interesting because Bali is primarily Hindu, and the rest of Indonesia is
Muslim. Yeah.
So it's just they're doing their own thing.
Yeah.
But if you're becoming a Brahmin, is that like a priest?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's like they're kind of like Balinese Hindu priest.
Interesting.
Yeah. I don't know much more about it than that.
It's like interesting because like in Hinduism, Brahma is like one of the like 3 main god guys. So it's interesting that like that's the same-ish name.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah. I don't know.
Cool. So you were in South Korea, and then you were in Cambodia, and then you were in Bali, and then...
Yeah, there was a little bit more in there, but yeah.
And then how'd you get here?
And then, yeah, so I met Seamus in Cambodia. We started the nonprofit in Indonesia. I met Karin in Indonesia. We went back to New York, where we're both from. And then we went back to Bali for a little while. And then we were going to move to up north, San Luis Obispo.
Oh, okay.
Because I've heard amazing things about Slow. Yeah, apparently it's really cool. It's like it's a little bit of a college town.
Is that where what's there?
Cal Poly.
Oh, okay.
Is the school up there? I don't know. It's like by like Morro Bay. There's a lot of really good surfing up there, and it's not that crowded.
Gotcha.
So that was kind of the appeal for us. So we were going to move up there, but then Karin's sister, who's a nurse here in San Diego, she had a roommate that basically bailed on her lease because she fell in love with Big Ben, who is an amazing guy back in Utah. Really, really wonderful guy. No, fuck, why am I saying Big Ben? What am I thinking? His name's Will.
Wait, who's Big Ben?
His name's Will. I don't know why I said Big Ben. That's like the clock tower in England. Oh, God damn it. Big Will.
I don't know where that came.
Yeah, he fell in love. She fell in love with Big Will, which I totally understand because I'm also in love with Big Will. I love you, buddy. I know you're not going to listen to this, but I love you anyway. I barely know him. I really barely know him. It's totally.
I think about you every day.
I do. I really do. But yeah, apparently, she fell in love with Big Will, and she was like, I got to move back to Utah. Like, he got me a job. Like, I need to be with him. And then she was like, yo, can you guys move in here? Like, I don't want a stranger for a roommate. And we were like, I don't know, living with my girlfriend's sister. I don't know. That's kind of weird. Karin was like living with my sister. I don't know. No, but she was super into it. And then we were just like, yeah, let's go try it out for like 6 months. No commitment, let's go for it. And that was about, like 10 months ago. And I'll tell you, moving here, I thought it was going to be super easy. I thought it was going to be like I've had some like experiences like a server, and I was just going to like get on my feet, like just find a restaurant to go work at and shit, and like just be like ready to go. When I got here, I couldn't find a job for shit. Like to the point that I was like looking at people going to restaurants, and I was like, oh my God, like how do you afford that? How are you affording that? The first job I got was with a state staffing agency, like Royal Catering or something. The interview that I went to, I like dressed up. They were like, oh, can you come in for an interview at like 3, blah, 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 at this address? I was like, yeah, okay. Fucking put on all my nice clothes, have my resume ready to go. I walked in, there's like 30 people there. Ugh. It's like this mass interview, and I'm just like, fuck, like, all right. But what's worse is like some of the people, like, and it was one of those things where like they were like, this is the job, blah, 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 you're all hired. And some of the people there, like, didn't have teeth. Like they had like open wounds on their face that they were like scratching a lot, and like very dirty clothes. Like I'm pretty sure some of them were homeless. And I was just like looking around. I was like, oh man, I went to college for this. Like it was so bad. And the first job I got, I was running food at Petco Park at the baseball stadium. So like not even my friends make fun of me. They're like, oh, you're like the hot dog guy, you're like the peanut guy. Yeah. Dude, that would have been a huge upgrade. Like those guys rake in the money. I was getting paid minimum wage 4 hours a day to like literally take food from the kitchen and like bring it to like certain seats. And it was just the lowest man on the totem pole. It was so bad, Kat. It was so bad. I can't even tell you. I was just like, holy shit. Like, this is my fucking life right now. And I just come from Bali. I can't hear myself anymore. You're not drinking any of your beer.
I know. Well, I wanted to open it with like a nice on the mic. It's a little silly right now. It like froze. Hold on.
Such a bad job, Jesus Christ. What was your first job here?
Running food.
Where? At a restaurant?
Yeah. I was at OB Surf Lunch.
Way better.
Yeah.
Way better.
But
Echo Park, dude. Literally working with homeless people.
that is so funny. Okay. It was so bad. Hey, we just had a little audio issue, but we're back.
Okay, we're
so
back.
bad. Working with homeless people.
Yeah.
Running food.
Terrible.
The lowest.
And you were just telling me that your first job was also running food.
Yeah,
here.
so same situation. I moved here simply because I wanted to move here.
Mm-hmm.
Not even particularly OB, Ocean
You'd
Beach.
seen it on a
where we live.
postcard or something?
No, I always had the pull that I just wanted to move to Southern California somewhere. Kind of sounds cliche, but here I am.
Yep.
And before I moved here, I was waitressing for a couple months between going to Bali and moving, because I was like, I should have some money before I leave just so I have a little bit of cushion. Thank God I did that, or I would be the homeless guy working with you
Yeah,
in the stadium right now, scratching my face, no teeth.
Oh, God.
Even though there's so many dentists here, there's like a weird amount of dentists in Ocean Beach. Have you noticed that?
I haven't. But apparently there's one really hot one.
A hot dentist, or
Yeah.
like a
Karin
hot
hasn't
office?
told you about this?
No.
Oh, my gosh. Yeah, Karin has a really hot dentist that you should ask her about it. She likes to talk about him.
Well, can she set me up?
Yeah.
What's
She
his
can.
name?
You need some dental work?
I haven't been to the dentist in a while. I might.
Dude, apparently he's really hot, but he is also married.
Oh.
But apparently he's got like a six-pack. His muscles are like bulging out of
Does
his
he
shirts.
operate without a shirt?
I don't know. I guess he wears tight shirts. I don't know. I haven't been to him myself.
Well, actually, I don't know if he'd ever listen to this, but it's funny. My friend in college, Ronnie, he's like really muscular, and he's really into dentistry. And by into
What
dentistry,
does that mean? What does that mean, into dentistry? That's so weird.
he's like in dental school.
Oh, okay. Okay, that's totally different.
But he like posts pictures of himself like
Doing
being
dentistry?
a dentist,
Yeah.
and it looks like it's like the beginning of a porno or something.
Yeah.
But all the love to Ronnie.
Yeah. My
looks
dad's
good.
actually a dentist.
No way.
That's how my dad met my mom.
He was
He was
doing
her
her
dentist.
teeth. Wow.
Yeah.
Anyway, there's a lot of dentists in OB. OB is so small.
Mm-hmm.
It's a small place,
Yeah.
and there's like 12 dentists.
I had no idea.
It's definitely a front for something.
Interesting. Do you have any hypotheses?
Maybe like nitrous or something.
Oh wow.
Maybe.
Have you ever done nitrous?
I did.
Just once?
I did it in Thailand.
Yeah.
Nothing.
Just
And
the balloons? What do you mean nothing? You didn't feel it?
Yeah, it was just nothing. And then I did it with Teddy. Teddy is like whippet god.
Is he?
Yeah.
Dude, I'd be down to do a whippet.
It's so funny. It's so dumb. Lasts like 5 seconds, but it's like, where am I?
Sick for 5 seconds, especially if you're listening to music. You're like, blah, blah, blah.
Time stops.
I once fished out on a whippet.
What does that
It
mean?
was bad. I took like a balloon in, I think it was Vietnam. I took a balloon and just
Back
like,
in
if you
Nam.
take too much nitrous, you just like you black out. I like fell down in a bar. I was like, oh.
Well, I guess that would make sense since it's like used to help you go night night.
Yeah, I guess. But like you if you like breathe in and out of the balloon, like you hyperventilate, my brain just like lost oxygen and I just like knocked out for a sec.
Boy.
Yeah.
Dude, speaking of which, okay. So have you been to Thailand?
I have, yeah.
Okay, so in Bangkok, there's like what's that like main street with all the like strip clubs and stuff?
Koh San Road.
Yeah, Koh San Road.
Yeah.
But there's another road that's like a sketchy version.
Mm-hmm.
I don't remember the name of it.
I don't know.
But we went to Sketchy Version Road the first night we were there. Not a vibe for me, honestly, Bangkok.
Yeah.
But
me neither.
There was some guy sitting near like the Whippet stand. And
which is so crazy.
Yeah,
there's a Whippet stand.
Yeah. And I don't even know where he was getting money from, but the Whippet guy just kept handing him balloon after balloon after balloon, and he was there all night.
Oh my God.
Like, I don't know, like, his one little brain cell was just more.
That's
like,
insane.
That image is
just
so
like a white
burned. Guy? I don't know what he was. Maybe I wasn't even seeing him clearly because he was so gone. He was just fading away. That image is burned in my mind. That's why I don't like Bangkok. Anyway, how did we get here?
I don't know. But I want to talk some like fucking heady human experience.
Okay.
Shit. Let's go. What else? What have you talked with other people about in terms
funny.
of the human thing?
Yeah, the human thing. Well, we could just ask the big one. Like, what do you think this is that we're in right now?
Oh, jeez.
Well, of course we can't know, but what's your speculation?
I don't know. I don't know if I've really speculated on that. I don't know if I've come to a conclusion. Like, what are we in? Okay.
What are we?
Okay. I got it. I think there's really interesting, kind of, I don't know if it's anecdotal evidence, but there's this idea that our brains are just receptors. They're kind of like antenna that pick up certain wavelengths of, some kind of, I guess, just energy moving at a certain wavelength. And that... Which is true,
scientifically.
Well, yeah, okay. I don't know the science of it, but I know the idea. And I like to think about that. There's like this giant kind of energy source that has like this variety of wavelengths, and that these like physical bodies from our brain like tap into that kind of energy source for a finite amount of time, and are able to kind of like experience life. Like, it's like, I don't know, I like to think of like consciousness as like light looking at itself or something like that, like playing with itself in a way. And so that's kind of an idea that maybe I like because it's infinite and it makes kind of this kind of finite body seem obviously impermanent, but like as a larger part of the whole. And I think there's some evidence that suggests that might be true.
Well, definitely. Like, even just saying that matter can't be created or destroyed. Everything is constantly dying and being birthed, if you want to use that metaphor. So, even when our bodies die, there's still energy there that must, like, go somewhere. Like, even if it's not matter, like, there's still energy that goes somewhere. And, maybe that just disperses into the air and the earth just, like, eats it up. Or maybe there's some kind of spiritual component. So, like, we can think about it very nihilistically, like, stuff's just happening and I'm just here, who the fuck knows? Or stuff is just happening, who knows? But it seems like there's a mystery behind it. Mm-hmm. And it's, again, like, all of this is very fun to think about. Ultimately, we can't know. But yeah, same thing, like,
ultimately we will know.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah. Well, I mean, when
maybe
you die, I think you're gonna know.
I like to think that.
You're gonna know something. Mm-hmm. Something's gonna happen.
Or maybe we just reincarnate.
Or maybe it's just fucking darkness.
Maybe it's a simulation.
That would be really crazy.
Elon Musk thinks that, he said that, like, the probability that this is base reality is like 1 in a million or something. So
what does that mean?
So, like, base reality would mean like what is like ultimate reality. So say I'm playing a video game, and in the video game, say I'm playing Sims.
Right.
And my little sim, my person in Sims, is playing a game on the computer. So me playing Sims, that would be base reality, like the reality that we know. And then the sim is another layer, and then the game that the sim's playing is another layer.
Whoa. So Elon Musk thinks that we're the sim playing the game, or maybe even the sim inside the sim game playing the sim game.
He thinks we're like layers deep.
Oh, jeez.
Which, you know, if you want to think of it from like a technology standpoint, you know, I can see that, like the whole simulation theory.
Yeah.
Or you can see it from a consciousness standpoint and say, we're operating on this level of consciousness right now as human beings.
Yeah.
But we're unaware of some bigger picture. We're unaware of the mystery that this whole thing is operating within. And so, you know, maybe there's a reality in which things are not human beings, where we're just some kind of like ethereal, floaty energy or something that our minds can't even comprehend. So you can also think of it as this being one layer of consciousness, and there's other layers that, you know, are containing this one. So almost like we're in this sphere and there's a larger sphere encompassing it. We have no idea what that bigger one is because we're in the smaller one. It's hard to explain this without visual.
I mean, I kind of get it, but I guess the point is that you can't understand.
You can't
it's
understand
like the fourth dimension. Like you like.
Well, yeah, because how can we experience something that's outside of our experience?
Right.
We can't.
Yeah.
Do you guys want to hear a good noise?
Yeah.
You're welcome.
Yeah, that's really nice. Now that you've waited for it to be all
Neal
warm.
was like, I brought you a beer and you haven't drank it.
She's just been letting it warm on the table for 40 minutes.
It's got a little bit of a crisp element to it.
Yeah, I'm sure.
It's pretty good. Reminds me of college. I'm kidding. It's better than college beer.
I don't know.
It's pretty good. It's pretty good. Yeah. So, does time exist, Neal?
Does time exist?
Yeah.
That's it's a very interesting question. I think relativity is so fucking weird. I was actually talking to my buddy the other day, because some days definitely feel shorter than other days. And I think obviously it has something to do with like how much work you're doing, what you're thinking about. But I think some days everybody agrees that, whoa, today was a short day. And because relativity exists, I think that phenomenon might actually happen. This is interesting, there are, I don't know if it's in Norway or it's in somewhere, there's a laser that basically like is pointing against a wall. And all it does is measure the distance between like that laser and the wall. And all the time, it's like exactly like a kilometer, right? Wow. Except for when the world is hit, and I think it's gravitational waves, it might be something else, hit by like some kind of energy wave, I think it's gravitational waves, that are still emanating from the Big Bang. And when they hit, the distance of that laser changes minutely. But the implications of that are so fucking crazy. Like, the fact that that distance changes, like everything in the world changes for that second. The time changes for that second. If you put a clock on like a plane and a clock on the earth and you fly that plane around, the clocks are different. And it's so weird.
Wow.
It's so weird.
It's so interesting to go into the science of it, and I am no physicist, but it's so interesting. And I sound so dumb talking about, you know, like stuff like that. But, you know, we operate and we perceive time as being this linear thing. There was a past, things happened, and there is a future, things will happen, and I'm here in the present. And, you know, maybe for a mind, for a human, in order to navigate this human life, it's very useful. Otherwise, things would be so confusing. But it seems that, you know, maybe in that larger container, that other level of consciousness, time is more of a sphere, or everything's just one point. It's all happening at once.
That'd be so weird.
Yeah, everything is just all happening at once.
So crazy. I like to think about that sometimes when, like, especially when people are upsetting me or something. I like to think of them as just like, okay, this is just a baby. but it's just like far away from being a baby.
I love
it's
that.
just like the distance between what I'm looking at right now and a baby is just like long. And then I think it helps. I think it helps because then you're like, oh, okay, like this person is like, an adult, but simultaneously they're also like not born, or they're a fetus, or they're like a little baby. And I think that sometimes helps. But have you seen the movie Arrival?
No. Should I?
Oh my God, it's so good.
Wait,
so,
well, what's it about?
Okay,
Don't
so,
spoil it.
No, I'm not going to spoil it. But the idea is basically that like these aliens come to Earth, and they're like in this big weird spaceship, and it's with the dude from The Hurt Locker, and I don't know the girl's name, but she's so good. Amy Adams.
I'm really bad.
I don't
with
know.
Famous people.
I don't know either. But basically the idea is like she's this professor, and she's like in linguistics, and they need to figure out how they're going to communicate. Why are all these aliens here? And she basically figures out that these like aliens speak in these like circular patterns that they just like present, and she's able to translate them. I'm going to give it away a little bit. But anyway, it ends up that these aliens don't experience time in the same way that we do. And their time is like a circle. And the implications of that are so bizarre, because things that happen in the future affect the past to a point that like, because something has already happened, somebody goes out of their way in the future to make sure to like tell someone information so that they already knew it in the past.
Wow.
Because they've already acted on it. But because they need to do it's so crazy. And there's like other experiments like this. Have you ever looked into like quantum theory, quantum mechanics, like kind of theory and these things?
Yeah.
There's this really interesting book called The Field by Lynn McTaggart, that kind of looks into, there are all these like college academics and scientists that have like were at some point in their career running like very normal experiments, trying to get very normal results, and these very abnormal things kept happening. And because like these abnormalities kept presenting themselves, they basically decided, and these are people from MIT, Columbia, like really like well-renowned universities. It's not like, University of Phoenix, professors like, oh, this exists. But they decide to dedicate their whole careers to these things. And some of the things that they find are just like unbelievable, like remote viewing or kind of like this like system in which you can change the result of experiments by doing things in the past that affect things that have already happened, because they're like still kind of like in this kind of undefined form. And so there are these experiments where basically they would kind of like act on this like cyclical nature of time, and what they would do, and I've kind of tried to incorporate this in some aspects of my life, mostly to like protect myself, which is kind of weird, but it's like so for me, let's just give an example of like something that's happened to me before. Like I've been in situations where like surfing or something, where like actually one thing comes up. I was in Bali and just like surfing and kind of fucked this wave up, and just ended up like getting picked up by this wave and just smashed to the bottom. And this is a place where like
reef?
There's they're just giant boulders. They're like the size of this table. They're like 4 by 3 feet, just giant kind of bulbous boulders. And I got smashed so hard, just straight on my back, and somehow I just ended up like in just like this, like it must be the only pile of sand like there is, and I just like was totally flat against like the sand, and nothing happened, and I came up and I was totally fine. And so what I did in the past, and this might sound fucking crazy, is that I tried to like actively kind of will that to happen, and like protect myself in that situation from breaking my back or hurting myself, because of these experiments that I've heard of these people that can like basically influence results of certain phenomenon by like actively, consciously willing things to happen that have already happened, but because they have a plan and they're going to act on that plan of imparting their will on something, are able to influence it. Did I explain that at all? Does that make sense at all?
Well, let me just, I'm going to like recap to see if I'm understanding this.
Try to. I don't know if I explained it
So
well.
I'm having a little bit of trouble understanding, are they in the present trying to influence a future event, or are they in the present trying to influence a past event?
Interesting. Okay, let me describe one of the experiments, and maybe it'll help. Okay, so there's basically this experiment where there's a random number generator. All these experiments in like quantum mechanics have to do with random number generators, because they're like, they're a way to like
Quantify.
make, you can have like 1 million readouts in like 1 second, And so basically they would do this experiment with people, and they'd be like, all right, we're going to create this random number generator that's like 0 or 1s, and that's going to correlate to sounds in either your right or your left ear. And what we want you to do is will this number generator to have more right clicks or more left clicks. And they found that, our ability to affect the universe with our minds is like minuscule. But if you're able to generate, 1 billion random number generators, or random numbers generated by this thing, the results, you can kind of start to see these significant results in these trials. And so they found that like, okay, people can do that. People can impart their will on these like machines to kind of affect this result. And then it was like, okay, that's really interesting, right? That's super interesting. That's cool. We have this ability. But what they would do in this circumstance is, they're trying to kind of push the envelope, is they would record random number generators, creating right and left clicks in the ear. And then they would just like basically take that, they put it away, seal it in an envelope. And then they would talk to a person. They'd be like, yo, we want you to have this thing that's already been recorded. We want you to affect it, and we want you to make it have more right clicks than left clicks.
So it goes both ways.
Yeah, so while they were presently, like before they could like basically impart their will on that thing, and it would present that result. But it would also equally work if the thing had already been recorded.
Wow.
As long as no one can listen to it. That's like one of the things. That's like one of the like the observation is what like solidifies things in reality. That's like the whole premise of quantum mechanics, is that like the observer takes the potential of like, energy acting as waves, or, just like atoms. It solidifies that kind of potential into one place. And so they were able to do it at the same rate.
That is fascinating.
And the implications of that are fucking insane.
Just like how much do we influence reality? Not even like how I perceive things, but how things actually physically are.
Right. Like you can do that in the present state, but you can also do that after something has happened.
Yeah.
That's insane. And that's an insane thing to like incorporate into your life. Like if you think about that and think about all the things that have happened to you. And if you're like actively being like, you know what, like, I can't believe this happened to me. Like in like a week, I'm going to like make this happen. This thing that already happened. And if you live your life like that, maybe your future self is impacting all the things that happened to you.
Yeah. I really feel that. Like, I really do. And that's, just hit the mic. That's one of those things, is when you just feel this intuitive pull, or whatever you want to call it, you feel almost like an instinctual impulse to do something. And it's almost, and logically you're like, why would I make that decision? That doesn't make sense. But something is just telling you to do it, and so you do it. And that kind of seems like that maybe future self saying like, hey, I know this is sounds a little silly, but
who knows?
Yeah.
I mean, so now after we've had this conversation, maybe you're going to go back and look at those instances and fucking will that, guide yourself in that direction.
Yeah.
And if you make that like kind of commitment to yourself that you're going to guide yourself, like look back in your past and be like, all right, I'm going to guide myself to make that decision that I already made. Maybe that's affecting it. Mm-hmm. Maybe like this conversation and like you knowing this now is going to affect, like maybe it's already affected like your past. It's so crazy.
It blows your mind.
It blows your mind.
It's hard to even articulate.
Yeah, it's like playing chess. It's just like after a certain, you're just like no,
your mind
can't
is just
do
sludge.
My mind doesn't do that many steps.
Yeah, but and it's crazy just to think, even I don't know what the number is, but we make millions of choices a day, just tiny little choices, millions of them a day, and we often don't think about it because they're so small. I'm going to eat a sandwich for lunch, or actually I'm going to have a cookie. I don't know.
Or a gross banana.
Yeah, I have some sad looking bananas in my fridge.
Are they yours? I thought they were Teddy's.
No, they're mine.
I assumed they were Teddy's.
No, they're mine.
Sorry, Teddy.
Well, okay, guys, the thing is, when you put a banana in the fridge, it turns brown.
That's really gross.
It does. Yeah. It turns brown. I'm sorry.
Why'd you put it in the fridge?
Because it was going bad.
Just didn't make it work. You know what you should do? You should cut it up and freeze it.
I do have some frozen
smoothies.
boys in the freezer.
Yeah.
I've just been neglecting my children. Anyway.
Your children bananas? It's so weird.
Anyway. Hey guys, quick interruption. So, in the next 2 minutes or so, if it sounds like my roommate is cutting his toenails in the bathroom, it's because he is. So, just enjoy that. Okay, back to the episode. Yeah, but it's also crazy. There's been certain things in my life, and I'm sure the same's for you, is you say that something's going to happen. You don't know how it's going to work. It seems like the odds are stacked against you, but you just know. And so you keep telling yourself, this will happen, and it happens somehow. And that has been true for many things in my life. And as I've noticed that pattern,
for instance?
I'll explain.
Yeah.
But,
okay.
And they don't sound so crazy, but it just seems more crazy to me. But as they happen, it gives me more confidence or more faith or something like that to continue to take big leaps. Like this podcast, for example, this was literally so random. I don't know. It just felt a pull. I'm like, let's do it. Mm-hmm. And here we are.
Yeah.
But for instance, when I went and traveled in Bali, like I didn't have money to go do that. And when I moved here, it just didn't seem like a logical option. But I just kept saying to myself, when I graduate college, I'm going to go study yoga in Bali. And then I said, when I'm done in Bali, I'm going to move to California. And I really just think it's like being so sure of yourself and having that confidence and having the faith and trust that even when your life circumstances are telling you differently, even when your mind's telling you differently, even when you're broke and things are not going your way, as long as you have that faith, faith moves mountains, and you're gonna get there. And it might not look the way that you envisioned, but it seems to always work out if you want it badly enough.
Yeah, I'm definitely on that train. Yeah, just like knowing that just believing that everything's gonna work out. I just think it's way easier to feel that way than the alternative of
like being so stressed out all the time. Oh my god, I gotta do this and do this and do this or my life's gonna fall apart. It's like, no, life is gonna happen whether you stress about it or not. Yeah. And it might feel like lazy or something too. And it's not that I care less, it's just that I'm not so worried about it.
Worrying doesn't help with anything.
Yeah.
There's actually there was a study that done for stress. And so here's a question. Do you think that stress affects longevity?
Oh, definitely.
Definitely.
Have you heard about like blue zones and things like that?
I have, yeah.
So blue zones are these areas of the world where it's like very low stress, things are very bikeable, walkable. People are just happier, longevity is increased, and not
really good
only,
sense of community,
yeah,
really good diet.
Yeah. And not only like how long you live, but your quality of life. So you're 70, but you're still like kicking ass.
Yeah. So this is the really interesting aspect of this study, is that it was like thousands of people. It was like this big, long-term, crazy study that they did. I wish I could cite these so people could look them up.
That's all right. If you're really
just
interested,
believe me.
Just Google it.
Just believe. Take my word for fact. So they did this study basically, and they were like, okay, they took this population, whatever, and they were like, okay, do you think stress affects longevity? And basically half the population was like, yes. And the other population was like, no. And then kind of they controlled for a few factors, and some people were stressed and some people weren't stressed. But what they found was that the main indicator of longevity wasn't the amount of stress that you experienced. It was whether or not you thought that stress was bad for you.
Whoa. So if you're stressed, but you don't see it as a problem, it doesn't affect you. But if you see your stress,
it doesn't affect your longevity. But if you think stress is hurting you physically and affecting your health, it does.
Wow.
And if you don't, it doesn't. And so it doesn't matter how much stress you experience in your life. It's just how you view that stress.
Wow.
As like the effect.
And I've like noticed that with like the tiniest amount of things. Like I feel like, just take your health for example. If I'm super neurotic about my diet, I'm like, oh, am I eating clean? Am I eating too much? Am I eating too little? Should I eat at this time? Should I have 3 meals or should I have 5 or 1? Like if I'm trying to find like what's correct, even if I'm doing it completely like quote unquote correctly, I don't feel as good as when I'm just eating intuitively and just like feeling like and not thinking about it so much, really.
Yeah.
No, it's just so crazy. And there's this guy, Dr. Joe Dispenza, and have you heard of him?
No, I haven't.
Okay.
But he sounds reliable.
Well, I don't know. I haven't checked his credentials. But anyway, he was in some kind of accident and he shattered like his lower like 3 vertebrae or something like that. Like completely shattered. The doctor's like, you're
like a car crash.
Yeah, or like a bicycle accident, something. And the doctors was just like, listen, buddy, like, you're not even going to be able to sit up very well, much less walk, much less do anything. And he was a doctor. And he would sit there and he would visualize the surgery of him putting together his vertebrae and what that would take. And it was like a very long process. It was a long surgery. But he would just visualize what would happen for his spine to be the way it's supposed to be. And it was like a very long meditation because you have to be so focused in on each little step. And so if he would mess up or he would zone out, he would start again. And so he did this for weeks. And again, don't quote me on this. I don't remember all the details, but it was like in 3 months or something, it was like it had never happened. It was the power of his mind. And there's been so many stories like that. Like, take cancer patients. There have been so many studies where the cancer patients who don't think they'll get better, don't get better. And the ones who do get better. And even cancer patients who've been given a false diagnosis, like they're told, oh, you have stage 4 prostate cancer. And they actually don't. They end up getting...
The prognosis is,
They end up getting that and dying, fucked. Even if they didn't even have that.
Yeah, it's super crazy. It's super crazy how, like, doctors, like, by just diagnosing people, like, really affect their outcomes.
And think about, like, mental health. How putting that label on someone is just going to exacerbate and escalate their, like, quote-unquote condition.
It's so fucked. It's so fucked. I have such a hard time kind of, like, understanding mental health issues because, luckily I don't experience them, and it's so hard for me to understand just, like, people that have chemical imbalances in their brain. They legitimately have chemical imbalances in their brain, and like they're sad or they're stressed or they're anxious. Like people that have anxiety attacks, like I'm just like, what do you mean? Like just fucking chill out. And it's just it's not like that. And
it's so tricky too,
it's very bizarre kind of space of like your brain is very strong, like just use it. And then it's also like, but I don't have the same brain chemistry. Like maybe it's legit.
It's tricky too
tricky
because,
space.
Do you have a condition because of your brain chemistry, or did your circumstances create this brain chemistry? Like, did your diagnosis create the chemical imbalance, or did it's like the chicken or the egg, like what came first? And I don't think that they're exclusive. I think that over time they begin to escalate and rise until you're labeled as having anxiety or depression or bipolar or schizophrenia, whatever. But at the same time, that chemical imbalance is happening. So they're not separate events. And, you know, some people are born with the DNA of just naturally, through their genetics, being predisposed to having mental health issues.
Yeah, like lower serotonin levels.
Yeah.
Lack of endorphins. And
but as with anything, even though it's harder, like ultimately you do have some control over that.
Maybe.
And
I think so.
Even like from my own experience, like I've never had severe, debilitating mental health issues, but I have experienced depression and anxiety, and I refused to go on medication just because I was like, I have watched myself create this state, and so I'm going to watch myself get myself out of this state. And I did. And again, like, it is probably easier for me than some other people who have it more severely. But again, I don't label myself as, oh, I have anxiety or I have depression. I'm like, I had it. It came. It left.
Right.
I'm not going to place that label on myself forever, because by placing labels on yourself, you think that things are going to be permanent when everything is constantly changing. You're going to keep feeding into that story.
Yeah. It's super interesting. And yeah, just, oh man, the way people are diagnosed like these days is insane, and how they just like, especially kids, anyway, what that reminds me of, it's something that I want to talk to you about, is magic. And how sometimes I like to think about this as like, it's been proven that if you believe in things, they work. Like, you know, if you believe you're going to get better, you're going to get better. If you believe stress doesn't affect your longevity, it doesn't. And I think it's so interesting to think about kind of the origins of that, and like the cultures that used to exist before like white European settlers like conquered the world, and then the Enlightenment and like all this kind of like scientific method basically took over society, and has been kind of just like a systemic part of every aspect of culture, no matter like where you are, except for like, you know, super isolated places. And the fact that maybe magic in kind of the way that you think about magic, like, you know, not magic tricks like magicians or anything, but like actual magic, like if you were brought up in a culture that believed in things, it's hard for me to even imagine, because I'm so like predisposed to in this world of logic that we just think is like so obvious, but it's just one path. Like, it's so clearly just one path that the whole world has decided to take, because everybody else was fucking killed. Like the Native Americans, like so many cultures before, like believed in magic, believed in the power of like the human mind, and believed in these things. And because they believed in them, potentially like they existed, and they like dominated reality. I think that's such an interesting thought, and what I think it's such a tragedy that like the world that we live in is so based in kind of the ideals of the conquerors, of like the people that fucking killed everybody else, and, you know, had these ideas, like these great Greek philosophers and everybody like had these fucking great ideas for sure, but like on a very, very narrow path of like what the nature of reality actually is. And I think it's so cool, like, to imagine, and it's hard for me to like get, you know, deeper than just like the surface level of imagining what reality could be if maybe we had just like, if that hadn't happened, if all the fucking Spanish settlers had gotten sick and left, you know, and America was just like what it was. And obviously it wasn't a utopia, you know, there was a lot of war and a lot of inner fighting between like Native Americans, and maybe Native Americans are kind of my focal point because that's who I think of when I think of like kind of the direction that we as, you know, maybe I would have been all the fucking way, you know, in Europe, you know, my ancestors would have been there, but I just can't even imagine. I can't even imagine what this world would have been like if we always believed in spirituality, always believed in the spiritual connection to the world, and like always believed that our minds and our thoughts had immense power. And like I feel like we're just reaching that point where like science has gotten good enough that it's like, holy shit, spirituality is like an actual thing. Like we can prove it now. We can prove it. Like, look at the double slit experiment. Like, look, this fucking thing is acting like it's a wave, and you know, it's a physical matter. Like, if we think it, like, it affects things. When we see things, it actually like creates reality around it. Like, oh my God, like they were right. And I think it's so fucked that it took us so long to just like come back to this realization of like, oh wow, yeah, what they've been saying for thousands and thousands of years is true. Like there's a spiritual connection to the natural world. Like you can make things happen with your mind. You can affect reality. And it's just so sad that we lost it. We lost that all these thousands of years. Like we could have been doing that. We could be somewhere right now where we're just like fucking looking at each other's, you know, wounds and just fucking, you know, getting in a group. I think that's a really cool idea too. Like, what if we got enough people that believed in something and we put them all in a stadium, you know, and we all had them like get into these like deep meditative states, and then we just like all had them like, all right, everybody fucking focus on this tree and imagine it lighting on fire, you know? What if you had enough people, enough brain power, enough people that
really
believed in something that they could affect reality, they could affect the like natural environment around them. And I think that's the track that we were on. And I think maybe one day, once the apocalypse is over and the people have crawled out from their bunkers,
the 3 people that are
left.
exactly,
and they've started repopulating the world with all their, you know, inbred children. It's just such a bizarre idea, because I think we just like, we think of ourselves as like these natural beings, and like our thought processes and like modern people are like so mired in just like this idea of like, prove it. Like, if I can't see it, if I can't smell it, if I can't touch it, it doesn't exist. And I think right now we're kind of transitioning maybe back. I think there's very few people actually, but I think once, you know,
there's
science,
more traction.
Yeah. Once science keeps going and keeps like proving these things, like there will be some more.
Karen's here.
Hey, babe.
Hi.
But yeah, that's something, you know, I really like to think about, and I think it's so sad. I think it's so sad that we missed it.
What's up, mamacita? No, definitely. And, you know, in the Western world, things are very sterile and stale, and they have to be one thing, and we have to know, and everything has to be proven. But even science is constantly being disproven. It's only the latest evidence that is the truth. Mm-hmm. And even then, there's still possibility for that to upgrade and be proven wrong. And so
yeah, like Newtonian physics. Like,
yeah. So like at the end of the day, we really don't know anything. And that's the whole reason that we had this issue in the first place of all of the magic being drowned out, is because people came in with the view that they wanted to assert that, hey, we need to actually know things. I need to see it. Otherwise, it's not true. Mm-hmm. And by doing so, by asserting...
There's probably only a few dudes.
Yeah.
There's probably like 3 or 4 like philosophers that are like, this is it. And then everybody else is like, okay, yeah.
Ugh, no, but I don't know. But I think it's true. And the fact that we really don't know anything, and the fact that even now modern science is aligning concepts with spirituality, I think it's only going to expand from here, because people are really starting to question things, especially the position that we're in now. Like even you and me having this conversation, like that wouldn't happen if we didn't have the luxury of not having to work 24/7 or not having to spend 8 hours cooking or going out and making shelter and whatever. We're able to have.
Actually, are you referring to hunters gatherers?
Yeah.
Apparently they had a lot of free time.
Oh.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, maybe that's the problem. Maybe in the new world we're conditioned to always be doing something, to always be progressing, to always be, I don't know, like
distracted.
Yeah, exactly, distracted. And then we don't have the space and the time to really sit back and reflect on what this is that we're in, because
it's boring. Yeah.
Wait, what's boring?
Reflecting.
Oh, but
compared to scrolling.
That's true. But at some point when you say, all right, I'm not going to scroll for a second, I'm not going to go catch the game, I'm not going to go booze with the boys, I'm going to just sit here and say, hey, me, what's this thing that you're in right now? Why do you do these things? Just start to question yourself and question life, and it gets pretty interesting. First, it might be scary because like you haven't done it before, and it's like overwhelming, and you realize, oh shit, I don't know anything. Everything that I've been told growing up, everything I've been told that I should be, that I need to be, this is how you be a human. You look sexy and you get a good partner and you repopulate, or you populate the earth, add to I don't know, and you get the job and you make money and this and that. And all good things, but if you're not happy, then you're not happy.
Yeah, I think a lot of people it would do a lot of people, myself included, a lot of good just to like sit with yourself. That's something that I'm not very good at doing either.
But even with that, that's a balance. Like, the purpose of life is to live it. But if you can take some time to be still and reflect upon it, then when you're living and when you're doing life, you're going to do it better. Because, you reflect on all of your painful experiences and all your pleasurable experiences, and you reflect on the lives of those around you, and you gain a wider perspective of how do I move through this thing in a way that's truly beneficial to the collective while maintaining your own unique individual expression, merging that collective culture and that individualist culture.
For sure.
Faux show. Did you want to be an astronaut when you were little?
I didn't, no.
I don't know, I really get that vibe from you.
Did you?
Maybe it's because your name's Neal.
Yeah.
You just look like an astronaut.
Nobody's actually asked me that before. Thank you. I didn't. I don't know what I wanted to be when I grew up, or when I was young, growing up.
Well, what do you want to be when you grow up now?
Shit. Happy.
Yeah.
Very happy.
Yeah.
Extremely happy.
Yeah.
I want to be able to ride my horse with a surfboard on it to the beach where I surf, and then I want to catch a fish, and I want to bring it back to my house, and I want to grill it and eat it along with a coconut and Karin and our little babies.
Little babies. How many babies are you guys gonna have?
I don't know. Maybe one. Maybe two.
Two?
I don't know. I kind of think it would be cool just to have one. But I know, like, single child, it's kind of, people have a thing about that. But I think it'd be so cool if you just had, like, it was you and your partner and your little homie, and it was just like, that was the one that you focused on, and that was like your buddy, and like you raised them to be like your buddy rather than like worrying about kind of the dynamic between the two.
I'm the parent, you are the child, like that kind of thing.
No, just like you raise this child. Like, usually when you get a dog, you only get one dog. You're not worried about that dog like playing with its other dog. Like, it has other friends to play with, but you have that one dog, you love it, and it's like kind of like fits really well in your life. Obviously, child's a little bit different, but I think that would be a really cool idea. I'm open to, so it can, like, I had a little brother, and I still do have a little brother, but when I was growing up, I had one, and I love him to death, and I can't imagine a world without him in it. But I think I've seen like families that it's just like, two partners and their kid, and like their kid's just like, traveling with them, going places, doing things with them.
It's a lot more simple.
Yeah, it's a lot more simple. Then you don't need to worry about them fighting. You don't need to worry about both.
Kids are expensive.
Yeah, they're expensive.
I got 3 sibs.
Do you?
Yeah.
Are they all older or younger?
They're all younger.
All younger. You're the oldest.
Yeah, I am the oldest.
I'm also the oldest.
Nice.
Yeah, right.
How's that like? Have you noticed like any trends of like being the oldest child?
Like do I notice similarities in other people that are also the oldest? I don't know. I don't really ask people if they're the oldest.
Me neither.
I feel like sometimes people will ask people things like, "Oh, when's your birthday?" "Oh, duh. Yeah, that explains a lot," or
That's
like
true.
shit
I
like
guess
that.
you really can't tell. You can try to make connections like, "Oh, I'm a Leo." And you're like, "Oh, wow, that makes so much
oh my
sense." So, like
God,
I could have
coulda
said I was
guessed.
Aquarius and you would have been like, "Oh, that makes so much sense."
Maybe they're not full of shit. Maybe they would have been like, "Oh, wait, are you sure?" I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know much. So, have you had a few pivots of transformation in your life? Like, do you have a few moments that really shaped you and, like transformative moments?
Like single instances that changed me.
Or it could have been like a period of time that you learned like one big lesson from, and kind of like learning that lesson or moving away from that time was a big pivot.
I think I think being like having the luxury of traveling after school was like a big pivot. I think up to that point I had always envisioned myself as like not being like a normal. I think everybody like that's a millennial was like, there's no way I'm gonna go work in an office, like fuck this. And I think that was maybe ingrained upon us by like pop culture. I'm not sure if it's like an independent thought, but I feel like a lot of us felt that way. Like 9 to 5 like became, after our parents, like it became kind of like almost like a bad word,
No, definitely.
Like, ugh, 9 to 5. Oh, what are you, like some kind of suit idiot? Fuck you.
But I don't know, like most of my friends do a 9 to 5.
Yeah, no, I do a 9 to 5 now.
Yeah.
I fucking think it's sick.
Yeah.
But I think coming out of college, it was like, no, we can't do that. We need to be different. We need to be like these beautiful little snowflakes. But I think traveling, it always gives you perspective when you're looking at different cultures, when you're seeing all these different things. And I think I have, you have multiple of these kind of like moments when I think the most important thing is just like being reminded in these moments, like how little you actually know about things. And I think that those have been like moments that have come up again and again in my life when I'm just like set on my beliefs. And I think it's really easy, and I think something that I strive for is like having solid beliefs, because it's so much easier to just be like, okay, fuck, all right, yeah, all right, that's what I believe. And I think that's happened to me a lot because I just don't have the anxiety of like, what do I believe? Who am I? Like, what are my beliefs? Like, what matters to me? But I think that I've had a lot of moments where I'm just like meeting somebody, or like in a different culture, or experiencing just these new experiences where I'm just like learning things, and I'm just like, oh shit, that thing that I thought for like a really long time, that's not actually like all there is. And I feel like so many things, it's so simple. I feel like humans have such a tendency to try to simplify things down to kind of like these binary systems, which I think has led us, in a lot of ways, like the kind of the political structure that we have set up right now. It's just like super binary because
it's either
easier
this
that
or
way.
that. It can't be anything.
Yeah, you need
it
to.
Is easier.
You want to identify, and it's just like, okay, all right, oh great, okay, I'm a Democrat. Like, whew, I don't need to think about this anymore.
And
like,
that's
I'll
such
just
a
do
pitfall,
that. It's a huge pitfall. It's a huge pitfall. And the more people I meet, and the more things I see, the more things I learn. It's just, humans are really messy, and we're like super nuanced. And as easy and as relaxing and as nice as it is to like settle on a belief and just be like, yeah, I know that this is right. the more things I learn. There's just like instances all the time, every day, people that I talk to, opinions that I hear, and things that like sway me one way or the other. I'm just like, fuck, I don't know anything. God damn it. Like, I was so sure that I believe that, and now I have this information and I don't think it's true anymore. And I think like
the more you know, the less you know.
Exactly. Yeah, the more I learn, yeah, definitely the less that I know. And it's just like, but there is one constant. And I think that at least in politics, or at least something that I've like started to understand, is like people, or a very certain people, maybe everyone, everybody wants power. And once you have it, like your ethical code, your morality, like everything around that will kind of succumb to holding on and gaining more power and like more impact on reality. And I think that's a pretty constant thing. And so you like justify certain actions because you're going to make the best decision for everybody else. And I find myself like I'm like a pretty controlling person, and I like having control of situations. I like having control of games that I play. I like having control of like where we're gonna go for dinner, shit like that. And I just feel like people really like control, and I think people really like power, and I think people think that they're gonna make the best decision for everybody else, and I think everybody thinks that, and that seems to be a solid thing. Well, maybe they, yeah.
Well, who are we to know? I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know anything.
In our culture, that is very much a constant. And even people who don't have power, come on, if you were to give them power, they would love that shit.
It's sick.
Yeah.
Having control, having power is sick.
It's so dangerous because we want control, because we want power. It's the same way as saying my beliefs are the correct beliefs. And so as we go through these experiences in life that challenge our beliefs and teach us that things are not binary, that things are not black or white, that everything is gray area, and that there are so many factors going into any choice that you can make, any decision. And I don't know, I think that those humbling moments are really teaching you that, hey, like, if this is life or God speaking, hey, if I'm gonna give you a little bit of power, like, this is a test. Like, can you act out of service and out of love, or are you just doing this to gratify your own ego and to continue getting power
and increase that power
for yourself, instead of, oh, I've been given some power, let me pour that out to not just me.
Here's the flip side of that coin, though, is like, and I think this is where a lot of people get tripped up. It's like, okay, I have this power, right? I could kind of give it out, divvy it up in love and respect and wonderful shit for everybody and just like give away my power. But if I do that, somebody else is going to come in and they're going to take my power. And once they have my power, they're not going to do the great things that I would do with my power. So what I need to do is give out a little bit of love, but mostly retain my power and then accumulate more power, because if anybody else comes here, they're not going to be making the right decisions for everybody else.
I think that there's a big misconception there, and the misconception is that power is limited and that it's finite. And we think that by giving our energy and time and money, which those are the three power things, to other people, that we're therefore going to have less. And in like a material sense, that is true, because we measure time and we measure money and we measure energy. But maybe in the grander scheme of things, you're not really losing or gaining anything. It's just kind of, like we were saying in the beginning, it's just kind of all happening.
Influence. I think you lose influence. Like, if you give away power, you lose influence over people, over situations, over things. And I think, like, even if like you found yourself in power, I think you're probably like a moral, ethical person. Like, I think you would be surprised by how you would justify your desire to hold that power, because I'm sure I would. You would be like, I'm going to do this better than the next guy. And because that's true, I need to hold this power. And maybe that comes down to like me bending my ethical code a little bit. Maybe like I need to, and if I need to do this favor for this person so that I can stay in power, because I'm going to be affecting greater good, and I'm going to be making this, I'm going to be adding a lot more positives to the world than negatives. But sure, maybe I'll do this like little negative thing, but I'm going to be doing this great fucking thing. And I think that's like, that seems to be the trap. I think we gotta watch out
for that. I think we really need to watch out for that, because when we're given a little bit of power and a little bit of control over situations, like, at least for me personally, like, I don't want to bend my morals and bend my ethics because of some potential reward, because I don't know, maybe it's like a karma thing, but if that's what I need to do to get power, then I don't want it, because it would feel inauthentic.
Right.
It would feel like I'm cheating.
Right, but we're operating on a really small scale here. I think, like, hypothetically, like what we're talking about. It's like, okay, I'm going to pick the restaurant,
Yeah.
But I think on these grander scales, where like, there's so many people and there's so many problems and there's so many like ways to kind of like, all right, somebody needs to control these people. Somebody needs to pick a direction.
I would just try to like have a lot of different opinions coming at me.
Yeah. It's hard. I think a lot of people have tried to do it. Yeah, a lot of people have tried to do it.
And that's so hard. Like, when we like look to these politicians and we're just like, oh my God, like, how could you make that decision? Did you even consider this and this and this?
Right.
Like, well, yeah, from my perspective, that looks like
it's really easy to point up there and be like, yo, you're fucking up. Mm-hmm. But I think when you're up there, the greater good. It's all about the greater good. These like all the super villains.
Sometimes it's about the greater good. Sometimes what people's idea of the greater good is not actually the greater good.
Yeah, yeah, or the ends justify the means. I think once you get on like this global scale of like so many people, shit gets so messy.
That's why I don't think that we should have people in power of that many people.
What's the alternative though? Just like we have like
little
millions
villages.
And millions of little villages with like 150 people. Dude, it would be chaos. It would be anarchy. Like each village would fucking be
I guess that's
killing everybody else.
Going back into, I don't really think there is an answer.
There's just too many people. I think at the end of the day, if there were like significantly less people, it would be an easier situation. But
well, that's what Hitler thought.
I don't know if that's gonna be happening. Did he think that?
Probably.
Well, he just thought there was too many Jews, right?
And other groups.
Yeah.
I don't know. Well, dude, I feel like we should wrap it up.
Yeah. After that Hitler comment.
Yeah, I don't want to offend any of you neo-Nazis out there. I don't want to lose all of my subscribers.
All your neo-Nazi fans.
My entire fan base.
I knew there was something fishy about this podcast. I knew it.
All right.
All right, well...
wait, I have one question from Karin, actually.
Yeah.
Do you want to... Here, let me just... bring it up real quick.
She sent it in.
She did. She sent in a really, really good question. She wants to know,
Perfect.
Neal.
Yeah.
Who is this Christina bitch?
Christina bitch.
You've been talking to her. You don't know that she knows. But she knows.
Christina. Let me think about this. Christina. I have no idea.
I'll let you guys sort this out after the show, but we're going to wrap it up. So guys, send me your questions and send me your feedback, and we'll answer them on the show. You guys have really been slacking with the questions. I have not been getting questions. Just ask me something, please. I know that like probably just my mom is listening to this, but just ask me. Mom, ask me something.
But make a fake account so it doesn't
Mom,
look like Mom.
Like say your name is Joey, and I'll be like, Joey.
And Kat will take care of you when you're older.
Yeah.
She will let you move in with her.
Over the hill.
She'll never put you in a home.
But guys, it would really help us out to get the show out to more ears if you, on Apple Podcasts, subscribe, leave a review, give me 5 stars. If you leave me a review, a good review, I'm going to send you a sticker. I made stickers. You can have one. Neal, I'm going to give you a sticker for free.
Sick.
You should still leave a review, though.
All right, will do. Yeah, I'll give this 5 stars for sure.
Really?
Yeah,
Only
absolutely.
this episode. The
No,
rest of
just
them
this
give 0.
episode. Yeah. Well, I'll need to listen to them. See how they are. See how they stack up.
Yeah, nothing can compare.
Well, thanks for having me. Thanks for having me, Kat.
Yeah, you're welcome. I'm not done with the outro though.
Oh,
You got
okay.
more.
Sorry.
No, you're fine. You're welcome. Additionally, besides Apple Podcasts, we've got video recordings on YouTube. Sometimes they're really low quality because we got bad lighting, but sometimes they're pretty good. You can see our faces. You can see.
My lack of mustache.
Yeah, that was a severe disappointment,
Yeah.
but it's okay. Teddy also shaved his mustache today.
Interesting.
I'm just
Interesting timing.
stashless.
Yeah, I saw your stash in the sink.
Yeah.
Stash in the sink. Okay. Yeah, we're on Spotify, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, YouTube. On Instagram, follow us at This Human Thing. On Facebook, follow us at This Human Thing. Support me if you want. I have my first Patreon subscriber, Tommy. Thank you, Tommy, for subscribing to my Patreon.
Thanks, Tommy.
You're the man. Patreon is /the shala, like a yoga shala. You're not going to understand how that's connected to the podcast. That's just the name. You can search Kat Ellis. Anyway, DM me your feedback. You can go to the show page at kellis.co/podcast. Neal, do you have any plugs?
I do not. Oh, yeah. Donate to Swimdo. Swimdo.org.
How can you spell that out?
Yeah. Swim. SWIMDO.org.
I'll put that in the show notes also.
Sick.
Can you give a little more context about
Yeah,
that?
so that's the nonprofit I was talking about
Yeah.
in Bali. We're a nonprofit. We've been around for about 6 years. We specialize in child drowning prevention. Yeah, we've been going strong. Yeah, we love your donation. We
That's
got a
awesome.
whole local team. It's kind of like a grassroots kind of situation in Bali. Nobody learns how to swim there. The kids, like,
really?
none of the kids know how to swim.
It's an island.
Yeah, so it's like a nonprofit swim school that's totally free to all of our kids, and we teach them. We've taught like more than 2,000 kids over like the last 5 years. But yeah, if you could donate, that'd be great.
Guys, $5 is nothing.
Or $500.
Yeah.
Whatever.
If $500 is nothing to you, $5 mil.
Yeah, $5 million would be great.
Yeah.
No worries.
Thank you.
Yeah,
for-
we'll give you
for
tax
that.
receipts too. So
I'll give you a sticker
it's
if
all
you
good.
donate $5.
We actually have stickers as well. So
Neal will give you a sticker.
Yep.
Double sticker. Well, Neal, thanks so much for having you on. This is great.
Kat,
I got
pleasure.
to know you.
Yeah.
Awesome. Anyway, guys, all you listeners out there, keep living with love. Keep doing your thing. Peace in. Peace out. Bam. Still recording. Bye. Woo. Nice, right? Like they feel so compressed. If anyone has really like big ears, they can just wear this for a sec, and then voila, problem solved. It really smushes my ears. Okay, let me save this before something awful happens.
Yeah, I know. I did it the last second. I was like, oh shit, should I do
No.
that?
It's like, guys, I like
It makes
that
it
you're in
organic,
this.
right?
Yeah. Bye. Oh.
That was your workout. What did you just do?
Hey guys, this is a test.
Gotta make your mouth really wet.
Ew, I hate that noise.
I really don't like ASMR.
Do the typing.
Yeah. Welcome to this human thing, guys. I just really am glad.
Oh, I don't like that. I don't like it. I really